podcast with your host here, Chris Henderson. Today, season 1, episode 1. The point we're going to make today is Georgia helped save democracy not only once, not only twice, but 3 times. Here we go. Let's make our point. Back in November, right, when we had our presidential election, right, we knew Georgia turned from red to blue, right? Georgia hasn't been blue since over 20 plus years and turned from red to blue. That's one time that helped save democracy and not allowing the re-election of President Trump. The second thing they did is that the people of Georgia did not allow David Perdue nor Kelly Loeffler to receive 50% of the votes. So in both cases, they won. They got majority of votes during that presidential election. But how Georgia does its Senate runoff is that in order for the candidate to get the seat, they must receive at least 50% of the votes. And in that presidential election over in November, the Georgians, uh, they were under 50%. Those two, everybody's about 48, 49%. There was a couple of independents that got a few percentage point, which allowed the runoff to happen in the beginning of January. And then guess what they did in January? Georgians decided to show up and vote in record numbers, and they put Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock into the United States Senate, right, and allowing the Democrats plus 2 independents to have 50 seats at the table, and then the Republicans to have the other 50. And who gets the deciding vote? Elected Vice President Kamala Harris. So those are 3 instances where Georgia, a state that was predominantly red, predominantly Republican, predominantly conservative, predominantly whatever you want to speak for the last 20 years, decided, hey, we're going to show up to vote. We're going to show out in blue, and we're going to help not only not put President Trump back into office, but we're going to put 2 new United States Senate candidates in there that are going to help not only Georgians, but it's going to help the United States progress forward instead of the 2, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, that were already in seat. So let's talk about the Senate runoff real quick. 1, Jon Ossoff faced off against David Perdue. Ossoff won with 50.6% of the votes. I mean, both of these elections were super close. He received 2.26 million votes. David Perdue had 49.4% of the votes, and he received 2.21 million votes. Thing with Ossoff and Warnock kind of ran together. They kind of have a parallel campaign, but he told it about him being a Jewish, born and raised, facing off against Perdue, who's one of the richest congressmen in the United States Senate. He ran off against him, but he destroyed him in the debate. So they had a runoff debate. He destroyed him. Not only destroyed him, the next time they did a debate again, Perdue wasn't there. Joseph stood up there alone for 30 minutes, an hour, while his Senate runoff opponent, Perdue, wasn't there. I mean, they just embarrassed the guy, talked about things he did, David Perdue did, talked about how bad he tried to make Ossoff look, and just destroyed him. And even all that, right, Perdue doesn't show up, he still gets 49.4% of votes. I don't understand it. Your candidate is so embarrassed. Your candidate looks so bad against the candidate in challenge. He doesn't even show up for the debate, but he still gets 49.4% of the votes. It's crazy, but thank you enough that Ossoff won, and he's one of the seats that are in Georgia. The next off was Raphael Warnock. Right, Raphael Warnock got 51% of vote at 2.28 million versus Kelly Loeffler, who received 49% of the votes at 2.1 million. Now, Loeffler, I mean, she was I wouldn't say elected. She was placed in that spot because the former Senate, um, the former Senate, I guess, elected was placed into the presidential Trump's cabinet, and so she was put in there, and I mean she didn't do nothing for the people of Georgia, just straightforward. Her and her husband are worth $800 million. I mean, her husband runs Wall Street. I mean, she's just been put in place there just because she supports Trump's and his ideas and his backing. And one of the things is that she tried to come down on Warnock and say he was a radical leftist, socialist, Marxist, the whole nine, the red Republican or strong right Republican idea to bash every person on the Democratic side, or every person that's progressive, or every person that's liberal. They come up with these same arguments. And she tried to bash him. And Raphael Warnock, who's a pastor, who's a preacher, who preaches at the Church of Martin Luther King Jr. In downtown Atlanta, overcame that. Continued to preach his message, continue to put out his message that I am here for the people of Georgia. I'm going to help you with COVID and get you the help that you need financially and physically. Put those $2,000 Senate checks in your pocket, and then I'm going to do everything in my power for the Georgian people. So he wasn't looking not only to help the whole United States, but does what he says he do in terms that he's going to help the people of Georgia who put him in the office. Now, the biggest thing about Georgia helping save democracy, not only once, not only twice, but three times, is now that we have this 50-50%, that Mitch McConnell, he is not the majority Senate leader, which means that it goes to Chuck Schumer, which means that Chuck Schumer gets to put up things for a vote. And the problem is the last 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, is that Chuck Schumer, or not Chuck Schumer, but Mitch McConnell has been setting agendas, setting what's been put up to vote, and has been blocking, stalling things that need to be voted upon in the Senate. So the House has been doing their job. The House has been putting up hundreds of thousands of bills for the Senate to vote on, yay or nay. And some, are passable. Some may need work. But if it didn't fit much McConnell's plan, it didn't fit the conservatives' plan, if it didn't fit Trump's plan, he wouldn't put it up to vote. He wouldn't put it up for people to express, to make their voice heard in the Senate, and then things would just stall. So now, with Chuck Schumer being the majority senator, he's gonna allow, or hopefully he allows to put more things up to vote from the House that's been passed by the House, and we can move forward. My idea is, hey, like it or not, love it or not, put it up to vote. We got 100 people in U.S. Senate. They need to vote. They need to vote for those bills, yay or nay. Stop stalling with these bills. Stop trying to, put everything in the bill that you want. If a bill's been passed by the House, or if you guys write a bill in the Senate, put it up to vote, yay or nay. If it passed, let's go forward with it. If it fails, let's try again. Let's try something new. So I am 100% happy to see that Mitch McConnell won't be the majority leader just for that fact. Ideology aside, differences aside, it's the fact that now we'll be able to see more bills hopefully come to the forefront and get voted upon by the people of the U.S. Senate. And I think that's the majority job. If you are on the Senate, you need to be voting. You need to be voting for bills. You need to be creating bills. You need to be over and checking each and every part of the executive branch and also the judiciary branch, because that is your job. If you're just sitting there and not getting things done, you're wasting taxpayers' money, you're wasting your time, and you're hurting the American people that put you in place. And lastly, I want to give much love to Stacey Abrams, right? Stacey Abrams, she ran for the governor of Georgia a few years back, and she didn't win, and there was a little bit of controversy because the governor that did win also was presiding over the voting laws, the voting act, the voting registrations of Georgia. So there's a little bit of controversy that goes within there. But a woman scorned, a black woman scorned, boy, she came out with revenge over these next 3 to 4 years. She has, and her team has signed up millions of Georgians to vote in rural areas, in city areas, everywhere in Georgia. She's gone door to door, knocked on people's houses, talked to them, her and her team, and got millions of people vote, which helped turn Georgia from red to blue. And not only did her message continue, is that from November to January, she and her team signed up over 110,000 more people that voted than that did in November. I mean, that's just a tremendous turnout. That's just a tremendous effort from her and her team, and so much love. And it just goes to the fact that if you make things fair, if you make things open, if you make things where people make it easier to vote and for the voice to be heard, right? Anything can happen, right? And I'm showing much love and much proudness not only to Stacey Abrams, but to the winners Ossoff and to Warnock, and hopefully that they do great things in the U.S. Senate, push things forward, make movements, make changes, bring equality closer, because it will never always be 100 or 50% each side, but move things closer and progress not only the United States but around the world with our message pushing forward. I thank you. Hopefully I made my point. I'm out. See you next time.